Seraphine received some huge buffs in 25.19 that in my opinion flew under the radar for a lot of players. After her buffs, she has become one of the highest win-rate supports of the current patch. There are currently two rune setups you can go. You can either go Guardian or Airy depending on your matchup bot. If you're into an all-in heavy lane, Guardian is ideal, and if you're not, then you should be going Airy. The best skill order is going to be 3 points Q into W max, as this will give you a nice mix of damage in lane that scales well into the mid and late game. Her items are the same for both builds, where Redemption into Moonstone is ideal. Don't get baited into Helia like I did when I was testing Seraphine. Yo, what's up guys? This commentary is going to be a Seraphine support commentary and how she is honestly a very underrated pick right now. After her buffs, she's just so strong. I think a lot of people saw the buffs, didn't really think she would be that good, but fast forward to now, she's just one of the highest win rate supports and just one of the strongest enchanters. She's kind of like Karma in the sense that she's like in between an enchanter and mage, but I think if you were to compare her to Karma, she is just currently a bit better than her right now. I think Karma's also very strong, but Seraphine is like the new Karma. I think a big part of her strength comes from her flexibility of being able to choose between Airy and Guardian based on matchup. And with the buffs to Guardian that should be live when this video is posted, she's just only going to get better in this draft. I decided to pick Seraphine here because Seraphine is actually a very hard counter to Bard. Bard essentially can't ever get into range of Seraphine to auto and like Q her, so if you play your abilities smart, then it's just very hard for him to play the game at all. I base my pick off of counter pick, but there's honestly a lot of great synergies that Seraphine can kind of go with for 80 carries. Jhin here, just you can combo her slow with his E and ult. Just basically anything that slows, you can combo it with her E, because if you have a slow and if you E someone once, then they get rooted. Things like Ashe are really good. There's a lot of good synergies right now with a lot of the meta 80 carries. This game, I originally wanted to go Airy, but I decided to go Guardian because we were playing into Tristana. Tristana is a pretty hard matchup for both of us just because we don't have a lot of CC to... Tristana is good into both Jhin and I because we don't have a lot of CC to stop her, and if she just kills one of us, she's going to kill both of us. So right off the bat, we are 5-pointing, but Bard walks up, and I'm able to get my double root off. We are able to get a flash from Bard and still kill him, and so this lane is just going... It's already a nightmare for Bard, and it's only going to get worse. Kicking off laning phase. My whole game plan is to just hold my abilities and to essentially not let Bard get his electrocute off. I think for most, if you're struggling playing into Bard, basically what you want to do is you don't want to let him auto you with passive and get his Q off because that procs electrocute. So I'm kind of like trying to bait out his abilities. He's trying to bait out mine, and he is able to get a good Q here. That was a mistake on my end. I didn't need to throw out my E, I could have held it. I played a little sloppy the early game here, but I start to lock in later. We get level 2 here. Bard still has to play pretty safe because he doesn't have flash. And so I'm just holding my abilities to see what I want to level up. I'm playing the bush here, and then when the wave pushes up, I forfeit it. Just playing the space very tight. Bard does the same thing. And I'm noticing here how Bard's kind of moving and just reading his patterns, and then able to get a double E off, Q, stun it with Jhin W, and just like that, that's what one of Seraphine's biggest strength is, her laning. Doesn't scale as well as other enchanters, but still scales relatively well, especially if you do go an enchanter build. It's like a nice mix of having a strong lane and having a good transition into the mid and late game. So I'm noticing that Jarvan is bot side. I am pinging to push out the wave so we can go move to scuttle if we need to. Bard gets a really good Q here. Catches me off guard. But yeah, we're just kind of trading. Pushing pretty hard to get the prio in lane. This is always important. If you are playing Seraphine, you should get prio in most of your lanes just because she does a lot of damage and her range is very big. So I see Bard disappear into fog, and I'm hugging the entrance of the river here, so I can move over to Jarvan if we do see the enemy go. Normally I'll be playing the bush, but because I do want to move for that prio, if possible, that's why I'm hugging the river entrance. So I see that Kayn is moving up to Scuttle Crab. I can move here because we do have that prio. So I move first all the way up to top crab. I try to flash here to go for Rise, but we just kind of trade flashes, which is kind of okay. Sucks for me, but Bard doesn't have flash, and that's like we essentially move top here to give our mid lane an advantage. I'm already topside here. I see Bard is recalling, so I want to just throw out the wards. I noticed that Gromp is up, so I'm kind of just hanging around the area, trying to help Jarvan secure this, and then I look to recall when he is taking it, and we know that we're good to go. I'm grabbing boots here, and then I'm going a Fairy Charm. I would normally opt for something like a Ruby Crystal if I had 700 gold on back, because I think I'm building Redemption first, and Ruby Crystal is usually always the raw 150 HP for 400 gold is like probably the best thing you could get for lane. It just makes you very tanky, and you know, if you're an enchanter, you can go on with... I'd much rather have health than AP. So I walk back bot here. Bard's kind of in his own land. He has to go around. Our wave is bad, so I had to come down to fix it. And then the lane is going to push back. I see that the enemy's behind us, so I ping on the way. Bard takes portal here and then gets punished just very hard. Yeah, not really sure what Bard's doing. They have no prio bot lane, and they're still going for an invade, which doesn't really make any sense. Bard is known for being able to roam, but like that roam actually made no sense because they just have no prio. So we take a reset here because Jhin wants to recall. I have Ruby Crystal, so I don't want it to stay. I'm down to take the recall as well. The wave is going to bounce back towards us, so I know that I have a timer to move. Right after I see that Tristana is eating the cannon minion, I'm like trying to look for something mid because I know she's most likely going to recall. Bard shows bot, which is really bad for him to do now that he's giving us information that he definitely doesn't need to really do. He'd have a lot more pressure on the map if he was kind of just like chilling in a bush. But because he has bot, I come back bot. One thing about this matchup for Jhin Tristana, I don't want to leave Jhin alone with Tristana as much, just because Jhin is really bad into Tristana. And so like normally if there are some AD carries where you probably want to roam a lot less. A lot of it is into like Tristana. Tristana is just really good at 1v1ing certain champions if they don't have a lot of mobility. Bard takes a really bad trade here, so he has to E out, and he's chunked. Tristana is level 6, but I'm not really too afraid because Bard is so low. So we're, like I was saying earlier, I don't want to leave Jhin and Trist alone that much. And it's going to be different for like some champions. Like Ezreal, for example, you can kind of leave him because he's good at farming alone. But for Jhin, I'm still going to take roam timers, but just not as many or not as long. So this is pretty important here. This E, the way I like position my E here is very important. Very important kind of skill to learn. So because Tristana is hugging the wall, I E in a way where it forces Tristana to either step back, which is good for us because she steps into the range of both of us, or she walks forward and gets hit by this. So she has to step forward to dodge it, and in doing so, we are able to get a good trade because she's isolated from Bard. Tristana jumps in, but Jhin gets ult, and then Jarvan comes for a gank, and we are able to get a double kill. So I think as Seraphine, you should be winning lane, I think Seraphine's probably the best enchanter to win lane with. I think because her range and abilities are so strong, you win. You'll be winning lane a lot more. She's like very similar to Karma in that sense. So yeah, if you're smart about your abilities and just kind of throwing out high percentage Qs, high percentage Es, and not like mindlessly spam them, then you'll win lane a lot of the time. So coming out of base, I'm throwing out my Q here to stack my passive. This is also another pretty important thing to do when you're playing Seraphine. You want to be pretty tasteful with it. You don't want to just throw out your abilities and be like... You don't want to throw out abilities all the time. You know, if you're low on mana, you don't want to be to do it. So yeah, being aware of stacking your passive is very important for Seraphine because it can make a big difference. So I walk mid here out of base because we push in the wave, and then I see bar top. I'm kind of looking for... I don't want to go all the way top because it would be really hard for me to cross over. So I'm kind of like trying to look for something on Rise, but it's very hard to hit your E from max range if they can see you. So I think it's probably impossible if the player is like... If the player can see you and they don't even need hands, like it's really easy to dodge. So I'm going back bot here again because I don't want to leave Tristana and Jhin alone. I know that Jhin is topside, so I try to go for a cheeky E here. Tristana doesn't see me because she's swept, but she kind of just accidentally sidesteps it. I see that Kayn is bot side. I'm like pretty chillin'. I'm confident in stepping up here because I know Jarvan is near us. Bard portals in. I get the double E in to the root, and I combo it to the charm. I run towards Jarvan. And we are able to just wipe them here. Great counter gank by Jarvan. And this went wrong for two reasons. One, they overchased, and two, their bot lane is just so behind that if the gank gets matched by Jarvan, they're just gonna lose, right? And this is kind of builds on the principle of how you should always be playing around people that are ahead. Because if they aren't, then like, and you try to like roam or gank somewhere, if you get matched, you just sort of lose. It's kind of hard for... I don't even blame Kayn that much for going for this, just because if he's not playing for bot, he has to play for top, which feels pretty bad because he's playing into Ornn. But yeah, I'll always remember that one like important thing about League is it's always best to play around your people that are ahead than to try to help people that are behind. So I go back, I buy Redemption first. I'm cycling out my passive again, which is why I threw out my E. Yeah, earlier in the video I talked about the build, but I think Redemption first into Moonstone is probably BIS for Seraphine. Look at top here. Unfortunate, very close. Kayn almost dies to Akali, but she barely gets away. I'm walking bot here because there's not really much to do mid, but Jhin ends up recalling, so I am going back mid. Don't know where Bard is. I'm pinging that he's there. Trying to go for something here. Rise is coming from the top side. I drop a ward here. Max range E, can't hit it. Hit him with a thumbs up, and then I dip. Looking bot here. I should be cycling my abilities here because I have full mana. I got caught kind of lacking. I start to cycle it here, but I should have been doing it earlier. There's a TP coming from behind us. I dropped the ult. I positioned my way in a way here to try to max hit everyone. I barely missed Tristana, which I think if I hit Tristana, Jhin actually lives here, but yeah. Missed the angle. I think Kayn knows that Jarvan is rotating, so he tries to all-in me, but then I'm chillin'. Yeah, Seraphine's ult is just one of the best ults in the game. It might be a little hard to get good at landing it, just because the angles can get a little hard, but my advice for getting good at landing Seraphine ult is to try to hit it in like uh, parts of the map where it's like corridors or like entrances. So one thing I can think of is like if you're at Dragon side and the enemy wants to enter through ramp, then like that's an area where you want to just try to hold it down, and if the enemy does come through, you ult because yeah, it's just more narrow and everyone has to funnel through there, right? Top goes down. I'm gonna set up Dragon. I see Bard here. Oh, another thing to play around for Seraphine's ult is the extension. So Seraphine's ult extends based on your ally and enemy's length. So if you can see a good angle where the enemy is far, like it's, yeah, you should know that it reaches very far. I'm trying to sweep here now. Want to play for bot turret since plates are fallen. See the ward here, can't really do too much. We're just kind of chilling. I see that a fight is breaking out topside. I can roam for this, but again, I want to play more for the plates so we can get feats of strength. Playing around feats of strength is something that's pretty important that you should be doing. One part that is important is the post 14 minutes when the plates fall off and towers are really easy to kill. Feats of strength are very, very OP. So yeah, this is like one place where you should really be focusing on to secure that. This is one little trickier. Saving my E for when Tristan is going to walk up to auto a minion. That's an example of throwing out a high percentage like Q or E, where you're essentially making the AD carry choose between either CSing or just getting hit by an ability. Here, I think we see Kane top here, and so like I'm down to fight, but I can't. I need to land an ability. I can't just throw out abilities because if I've missed, then I think Tristana Bard are very behind, but they'll just they can still fight us. So I W right when the bomb explodes to eat most of the damage. I get a little too antsy here. Miss out on my E. I dropped the redemption down. I'm very surprised Tristana jumped here even after my redemption was coming down. But at this point, like, they're so behind, they have to look for something, right? This is kind of a important thing to kind of talk about, how if you are super behind, you have to take fights like that, even if it's unfavorable, because otherwise you're just going to lose. And yeah, that's the game. The game was very short, but yeah, that's the Seraphine commentary. I highly recommend playing her because she's super strong. Thank you so much for watching.